is this going to be the same marker that the lineage of Cain, Abel's brother, is that going to be
No,
a similar marker, or is that going to be a different marker?
no. This is not the same marker. Right? The Canaanites, who are also pale people, right? But they are not Caucasians, right? Remember, all so-called pale leopard people are not Caucasian. Caucasian DNA is what you said earlier, the Neanderthal, troglodyte, DNA that ain't from this world. Canaanite DNA, or Cain, I'm calling it Canaanite because that's the name of Cain on this side of the flood. Prior to the flood, his name was Cain. Now that might be controversial, but I also have the sources for that. But Cain's DNA is what we call. I located all the Canaanites through the Istan people, the Istan, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Kurdistan,
or the Stans.
Uzbekistan. All of these people, but they're also in this region where I am right now, but they don't go by Istan over here. They've taken the identity of all the people in this region where I'm at. In Egypt, they're called Egyptian. In this land, they're called, Palestinian, Libyan, Syrian. They also in Iran. They're in Iraq, and all of these surrounding areas of the Middle East is the 11 tribes of Canaan, as well as going all the way up into Asia, right? When they first came down here and conquered, since the days of Joshua, was the Ottoman Empire. And they spread out like crazy, right? These are the Canaanites, right? But there are some Canaanites that do carry this Rh negative genetic trait, very, very small, and you can find those among the Kurdish people, right? The Kurdistan, like I said, there's another Istan, right? When they took over the world, they actually came from Turkey, and when they came down into this area, they were speaking Turkish. They weren't speaking Arabic. They were new to the whole Muslim game, right? They weren't really authentic Muslims. They were like converts, and they came down here and conquered the Moors and took on the Moorish culture and the Moorish language that we call Arabic today. And they changed the name of the language and they started calling it Arabic. And this is a big agenda to hide the Canaanite language and the Canaanite people under the term Arab. It's a big agenda by the Rh negatives. You feel me? They're hiding the Canaanite people. Why? Because if it wasn't for the Canaanites, it wouldn't be no Rh negatives. See, the Rh negatives are supposed to be walking around 15, 20, 30 feet tall, but they're not anymore because they've been taking Canaanite women for thousands of years. So now they look like, 5'11". They got 5 fingers now. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Free. You want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to, because what you're saying, I have one of my sources here that backs it up. If I could just take 30 seconds to read this, and this is coming from one of the books that you did mention, The Legend of the Jews. I just want to read this real fast. It says, before the flood, the number of unclean animals had been greater than the number of clean. After the ratio was reversed, because while 7 pairs of clean animals were preserved in the ark, but 2 pairs of the unclean were preserved. That's another thing that people get misconstrued. But anyway, here we go. One animal, the reem, Noah could not take in the ark on account of its huge size. It could not find room therein. Noah therefore tied it to the ark, and it ran on behind. Also, he could not make a space for the giant Og, the king of Bashan. He sat on top of the ark securely, and in this way escaped the flood of waters. Noah doled out his food to him daily through a hole, because Og had promised that he and his descendants would serve him as slaves perpetuity. Oh God, you know that word. So I wanted to make the connection because the term is because Cain would become a somebody help me with the word. Oh God.
Perpetuity.
Perpetual.
Perpetual, so slave. And this is one of the reasons they tied us, trying to say that the so-called people who came over in America on slave ships were the seed of Cain, which reason gave them, in the churches they taught this, it was okay to treat us like slaves because of the slave agreement with with Noah and Og. And it's funny that Og was the king of the Amorites, which was actually a Canaanite. So there's a connection right there to back up what you were saying. I rest.
Right. But get this though, this is an important marker. The Amorites, even though they're listed in the Torah as Canaanites, that's not true. The Amorites are a new genetically created race of people that are not really a race. They're not part of the human family at all. This is what we call the Rh negative race today. This is the people with 6 fingers, the people with red hair. You can call them Uyghurs, you can call them Aryans, you can call them the gods of the ancient world. This is them. They're cold-blooded. I like to call them the blood drinkers. The Slavs, that's another name for them, the Slavic peoples. You got Scandinavian, the Russian language is a Slavic language. The so-called Hebrew that's spoken of in the land today, that's a Slavic language. The Germans, this is another important name. Never forget this name, German. Understand the word German. It comes from the word to germinate, to German, the cross spicers. They are creating people. They created a whole race, you understand, that is not a part of the human family. The Amorites are not Canaanites, right? But they have been afforded to be a nation through the way of the Canaanites. They created their whole nation on the backs of the Canaanites. And this whole Ottoman Empire uprising was an attempt for Canaan to take back his dignity of